So in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, we see that it says, God, who at various times and in various ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets. So first of all, God, I mean, you got to think about who he spoke to by the prophets. He spoke to the fathers, it says, by the prophets. But it says, spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets. So there's the audience that, so God, the Lord God of Israel, by the way, God is speaking through the prophets or by the prophets to Israel, because God spoke to the fathers by the prophets. It says it says spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets. So God, this God in this story, when you zoom out, like Jason DaCosta said this morning, by the way, on his new YouTube short on consistent preterism, right? We've been talking about that, like zooming out, like, and getting the full big picture of this thing, right? So when you zoom out, for example, like in Luke chapter 1, and that's coffee brewing in the background, by the way. I'm a coffee fanatic. I got this one from the gas station. I'm making a whole new pot. Anyway, welcome to the Deconstructed Trucker, by the way. I'm going to be changing the name officially on the channel soon, but YouTube won't let me yet. But anyway, I'm going ahead and making shorts because I'm ready to roll. But yeah, it says that God, I was going to say Luke chapter 1, verses 67 through 77, you see this horn of salvation. You see the blessing and the mercy coming upon his people Israel, right? All this different stuff, but like here in Hebrews, it's saying that God, when you zoom out, you see that God is speaking through prophets to the fathers. So in other words, God, period, in this book is speaking to Israel through the fathers. So what happens in the last days New Testament narrative, which by the way is completely different and separate from the old, because the old is a physical restoration story fulfilled coming out from Babylon, and the New Testament is an apocalyptic end narrative where there's no law in the land still being kept like there is in the Old Testament picture. There's no more law, no more curse in a heavenly city, in a heavenly temple coming down, right? So it's not the same thing, but we see that he's shifting to how he's speaking to Israel. It says, has in these last days spoken to us by his son. So it's still us in the sense that he's saying it's still us, it's Israel, but it's shifted now to Christ. So that's not talking about us anyway. He just pivoted from one to the other.